Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? Probably not too well, as the Broncos fall to the Steelers 13-6 at home with a heartbreaking loss. So, gut reaction, Mohamed. What was your gut reaction to this game?
Okay. First of all, I would say I don't blame Bo Nix. He gets a pass. He's still a rookie. I'm not gonna blame him for anything. Um, Very disappointed, Eddie. I honestly thought we were gonna win this game. It's the first game at home with Bo Nix. I know whatever happened last week, but I thought this is gonna be a lot different. But it's a lot of the same. You know, Not blaming the defense neither, because the defense probably got tired, being on the field this whole time. And then we have all the injuries. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that later on. But just the offense is anemic. There's nothing. Like every time you feel like, okay, we're about to do something, something happens. I know that time when Bonix threw that interception. Very disappointing. I think Bonix needs more time with the receivers. It's going to happen, but it's obviously going to take some time. Now, what do we need? We need talent. You have to go and pay some money, maybe in the off season, to get some talent, bring some talent to this team. Now, the coaching, yes, I can blame them, but I could see it both ways. If you don't have the talent, how are you supposed to produce, right? So it's very disappointing, Eddie. Like I don't even feel optimistic, like looking at the future, looking at, next week or the week after. I don't like, I just look at it. I'm like, I know I sent you a message. I was like, I don't even want to continue watching this game. It's very hurtful. I think Broncos country deserved better. Like I said, Bonix still a rookie. He needs his time. I'm not gonna blame him, but I don't know what's next. Go ahead, Eddie.
Well, I'm going to give my gut reaction, but we're going to go through every single portion of this game: offense, defense, players, play calling. We're going to go through everything. But my initial gut reaction was more of the same. It's been, pretty much every year for the past 9 years. It was uh, two things. It was this and just pure fury, just like angerness, just I'm completely just over this. Like I feel like we're cursed. Like this team, it feels like they finally got owners, and then whenever you finally get a coach, it feels like everything's supposed to look up and things are supposed to get better, and you get your young rookie quarterback in here, or finally a young guy that we've been clamoring for and asking for years. You finally get all that stuff, and it's just like you're like, okay, I'm optimistic. This should be good, cool. But it's just an utter crap show. I don't know where the Broncos go from here. But to start that off, what were your overall thoughts on Bo Nix tonight?
I thought things kind of started slow for him. I don't necessarily think the O line is doing the best job, Eddie. I understand that we're playing against some good defenses, last week and this week, but I think he's kind of getting there slowly but surely. Like he's kind of making some plays, down the field. I saw a couple of nice catches with Reynolds and stuff, but he still needs to get that timing correct with the receivers and the tight ends, and that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily his fault. He just needs that time. It's going to take time. I mean, I think we thought this is going to be an immediate thing, but it's going to take some time. Going against some good defenses doesn't really help. But did I see some improvements? A little bit, but yes, I did.
Yeah, me and Graham were talking about this right before the show. I give Bo Nix like 2% of the blame here. Only because, like, yes, he has made improvements. His footwork looked a lot better this week. Him moving around, him, making more decisive decisions was nice. But there was also a few where that one interception he threw in the end zone, like I went back and watched the, the highlight or the whatever. He stared down Cortland Sutton on that play. I'm like, he did that last week and he did it again this week. I'm like, okay, Nate, you can't do that in the NFL. You got to be able to move your eyes. Now, going like we're going to go through everything, like I said. But that kind of leads me to what you kind of said, pointing out to the offensive line. What the heck? Like, what is this offensive line? You paid Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey all this money to come here to help you, and they don't. And now I kind of touched on this a little bit. I'm like, Sean Payton, to me, actually, you know what? I'm going to get your thoughts first. Who do you think is most to blame for this?
It's probably going to be coaching. It's always going to go back to coaching. But we don't have the talent, Eddie. Like, that's why I can't really say it's just coaching, you know? You look around our team, we just don't. I don't know. We kind of convinced ourselves that we do, but we don't. And like I said, we're going to have to go out there and sign some free agents, to help out Bo Nix.
My thing, I know you're probably not really going to agree with this, Mohamed, but I blame Sean Payton 100%. Well, I shouldn't say 100%. I say about 98%. Because the reason why I say that is because of the lack of play calling. Like even the run game, like he wasn't trying to like run outside, do jet sweeps, try to be creative. It was always runs up the middle. Whenever you've seen like the last 2 weeks against Seattle and Pittsburgh, they're clogging up the middle. There's nothing there for the backs. Like anytime you see the back, get a big gain, what were they doing? They try to run up the middle, nothing there, and they bounce outside, then go outside. Like run outside a little bit. It's okay, Sean. You can run outside. You don't always have to go right up the middle. That like I said, I talked about the guys that he brought in, like Ben Powers, Mike Lynch. You paid these guys and brought them in. You did that. All these players from the last 2 years, from free agency to the draft, it's his team. He brought these guys in. He's the coach. And I talked to Graham about this before the live. Like, this team is soft. Like, they have no dog. They have no fight. They don't have that. That, to me, is on coaching. You have to have this team ready to go. You had a hard training camp this year, and all of a sudden in games, in the season, it's like the team just, like, giving up. Sean Payton brought in VJ. Like, yes, the defense did have a good second half today. I'll give them that. First half, not so much. They did not look good in the first half. Granted, it was a low-scoring affair. I get that. But the defense just, like, I think if I remember right, the Steelers running backs were averaging, like, 5 yards a carry in the first half.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But then the second half, he shut them down. It's like, dude, you got to have a consistent game through the entire game. You can't just play one good half. You got to play 4 quarters. But that's just me. That's my opinion. Sean Payton's the most to blame for this because he's the one that brought in the players in free agency, drafted the players. He's the one running this team. Them being soft, not being ready, him hiring VJ, all that stuff, and the fact that they traded up to get Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin. I don't care what the deal is with those two. Get them on the field, even if they're used as decoys. Defenses they start putting them on the field towards the end of the game today. Like pretty much the entire fourth quarter, those two were on the field. But it's like Courtland Sutton's not getting open. He's not even trying, it doesn't seem like. Josh Reynolds is the only big body wide receiver out there. Looks like he's trying. Greg Dulcich can't catch a freaking pass to save his life, it seems like. Lil Jordan Humphrey had a little bit better of a day, but towards the end of the game. But it's like, what are you doing, Sean? Like, you need to get these speeds guys. I mean, there was one where Bo Nix, they finally had Marvin Mims run it deep. I think it was a deep post route, and Bo Nix just overthrew it. But you know what? I think that's lack of chemistry. I think that's lack of timing with the receiver.
Yeah.
Like,
very obvious.
He doesn't really play with him. And that's not to try to get Bo Nix off the hook here, but it's like, dude, like, come on. We need something. Like, I personally blame Sean Payton the most. He's the one that built this team. Like, we've seen other teams do it. It doesn't take, like, back in the day, people used to think it would take like 3 to 4 years to build a team. Like, you'd strip it down, and rebuild it. It would take about 3 to 4 years to rebuild a team, like 20 years ago. Nowadays, it's like you can rebuild a team in an off season.
Yeah.
If you have the right coach, the right and you have the right quarterback, and the coach is able to bring the players in he needs. Sean Payton's had 2 years, and this team looks honestly worse than it did at the start of last year. Now, yes, rookie quarterback, I understand that, but 6 points. You scored 20 against a more exotic defense last week on the road versus a defense that's more straightforward at home. You only score 6 points, no touchdowns. But with that said, Mohamed, I want to go through what were your thoughts on the receivers today? Like me, Cortland Sutton get traded for all I care now. I'd rather, if this season's going to go down the drain, I'd rather have Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin out there to develop and get chemistry with Bo Nix and, all that stuff. Trade Cortland Sutton if he's not working out. What are your thoughts on the receiving group?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very surprised with Sutton. I don't know what's going on with him. Like, it's just not him. Like, is he trying to get traded? Like, what is going on with him? I did think Lil Humphreys did pretty well for the most part, especially towards the end. Reynolds, I was very impressed with. Mims, he had that play, but yeah, Bo Nix just needs the timing with the receivers. I think it's gonna happen. It's just gonna take some time. It's a little bit better than last week, I would say. Especially towards the end. Now, I don't know if this was because their defense got tired toward the end and they were just not trying to tackle or do anything. But yeah, Reynolds, I would say, was good for the most part. Dulcich kind of took a step back. I don't know what's going on with him. I had high hope for him this week, but yeah, Sutton, I don't know, but he's not getting open. I don't know, just he's not being himself.
Yeah, I agree. Sutton, like I said, Sutton can be traded for all I care. Like it seems like Josh Reynolds, who, like, I don't even think Cortland Sutton's a number one anymore. I really don't.
No.
Like a number one would get open at least a couple of times in the game. He's hardly ever open. These first two games, he was hardly ever open. I'm perfectly fine with them trading Sutton, keeping Josh Reynolds as your number one, and getting Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, and Devon Bailey whenever he comes back next week. More snaps, more targets, more getting them out there on the field to develop the young guys, especially. You know, um, Dulcich, I'll give him another week, because he really didn't get targeted much last week, I don't think. I'll give him another week, but if he has more drops next week against the Bucks, I think you should just let Parham or Kroll come in and let them fight it out during the regular season, see who could be that tight end. If not, you might have to draft one. McGlinchey, like he got beat really bad towards the end of the game against TJ Watt. The first half he was all right, but in the second half, he was getting beat. Bowles was kind of holding again. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. Like, unless he has a stellar year, like he's 33. I don't think they bring him back. I think they might draft a new left tackle.
They need to.
But a lot of your money, I think a lot of the money on the offensive line, like all of our offensive linemen, both guards, both tackles, are making anywhere from 14 to 19 million a year. I think Lou Wattenberg's the only one that's still on a rookie deal that's not making that much money. But yeah, Sutton, he can go. Like, I'm perfectly fine with them trading him, getting draft picks, and give the young guys the reps. They need it, And actually, I wanted to get your opinion on this, Mohamed. I was actually on Facebook earlier during the game, and I saw people saying, "Oh no, they need to bench Bo Nix, not because he's, because they want to bench him because he's not the guy. It's just they want to bench him because they're like it's not really he needs time to sit and just learn a little bit more, and you don't want to risk him getting hurt and all this and that." I'm like, no, you don't sit him. No. I'm like, with the way this season is going, let him go out there, let him take his lumps. Regardless of how many games we win, how many interceptions he throws. I mean, Peyton Manning still holds the record for most interceptions in a season, and he played his entire rookie year. Let Bo Nix stay out there. Let him play. Let him develop. Let him take his lumps, and that way next year he'll know what to do and what not to do, and he can have that development, especially with his young guys. What are your thoughts on that, Mohamed?
I mean, I agree with you, Eddie. Like, no way. Like, you don't sit him. That's gonna like affect his confidence. I mean, hey, that's the whole point. He's the starter. He's our future. Let him battle out. Like I said, I don't really blame him. He can throw interceptions. He's still learning. He's still getting that time with the receivers. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. But at the same time, Eddie, like this whole idea with us going to the playoffs, it's just not gonna happen. Let's just be honest about it. This season, we just take it for what it is. like you were saying, if they're gonna trade Sutton, go ahead, trade him. You know, and next year we're gonna have to pay some money. Have to get some talent in here. You know, that's what's gonna happen. But at the meantime, let Bonix. You know, and he's still confident even after throwing the interception. You could see that Bonix is just ready. Like I just need to go out there and So it's not affecting him. So good for him. I mean, I'm not even like seriously like I'm not worried about him. You know, he's gonna learn how to. He's gonna get better with the time. But if Sean Payton is seeing some players not working out, just let him go. You know. But yeah, like I said, I agree with you. He needs to stay in the field.
Well, I kind of said that earlier in the offseason. I'm like, regardless if Sean Payton wants to admit it or not, and I've had this in the back of my mind all offseason and through these first 2 weeks, even though I thought, it's possible we can win 10 games this year because I figured, okay, 10 games for this Broncos team that went 8-9 last year with a quarterback that Payton did not want, did not get along with, and Payton having the quarterback he wants now, I thought that was worth additional 2 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always said in the back of my mind, like even especially earlier in the season, I was like, yeah, I would not be surprised if this team didn't make the playoffs. Like this is an evaluation year to get, to show if Bo Nix is the guy, see what they have on this roster and what they can move on from next offseason and what they can do next offseason with bringing in free agents and draft. But now, like I agree, it's just this is like I said, this has always been in the back of my mind. It's an evaluation year. This is why I don't say bench Bo Nix because he needs to play the entire season. Barring injury, he needs to play, take his lumps, get this down, get a year under his belt. That way next year he'll have timing with his, receivers. He'll have a year in the NFL, the experience, and he can go out there next year and play better and be like, okay, I know I did this last year. I can't do that this year. I'm going to do this. That way, I can play better.
Hey Eddie,
Go ahead.
sorry, I just thought about this. What if this was the plan all along? I know George Payton and Sean Payton were saying that we're not rebuilding. We're winning now. We're gonna win now, and all this stuff. Maybe this is what they were doing in the first place. Maybe that's why the play calling has been like this. Maybe they're just looking like we're not going to do anything this season. We got a rookie quarterback. Let's see what we have as far as talent. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we kind of fooled ourselves into thinking, oh, we're going to compete and we're going to go to the playoffs and all this stuff. Is that possible?
Well, my thing, this is what I want to get. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. Do you honestly think Sean Payton would risk going below 7-9 in the season? And just do you think he's purposely losing? Is basically what I'm asking.
No, not necessarily, but
You
thinking
just don't think
that
he's trying that hard.
exactly like I mean, they're just trying to evaluate. Like they're not going into this season thinking that this. I mean, basically, like when they looked at this whole team, when they looked at the talent that they have, thinking, nah, probably this season is not gonna be the season where we could compete. But let's just see how it goes. Let's look at their talent, and next year, once we have all that money, then we can. I mean, I'm just thinking at it. Like I just thought about it. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but
I would. I don't know, man. Honestly, because I feel like even if Sean Payton was going to do that, which he would never say that, I agree with you. He would never say that openly. But
Mhm.
I feel like the team would at least be fighting a little harder. They'd be, at least trying. Like you could still try and be hungry and be mean and actually be more physical and still lose. This team just looks soft to me. Like it doesn't look like it has the energy. Now, I don't think that's because of Sean Payton. Like, I mean, let me rephrase. Sean Payton, has the energy. He's going to get mad if you lose, and he's going to be happy when you win. He's going to have those emotions. He ain't like Vic Fangio over there on the sideline. Like, he's going to have emotions. He's going to, like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's what it could be. I mean, the valuation part, yes, I agree with. But I don't think he's going to sit there and be like, okay, we're going to play soft guys. We're just going to play like this and that. We're not really going to try, and just lose. I mean, even tanking teams don't do that. Teams that are like, we're trying to get our franchise QB. We need to tank to get the number one overall pick. They still fight hard. But at the same time, like the Texans did this a few years ago. I mean, it still worked out to their benefit. But,
Mhm.
whenever I think it was 2022, the Texans at the end of the year, all they had to do was lose that one game to Jacksonville, and they would have had the #1 overall pick to get whoever they wanted. Well, they beat Jacksonville. They were they fought hard. They beat Jacksonville. They kicked their freaking butt, and they got the 2nd overall pick. Now it worked out for them because they still got the quarterback they wanted, C.J. Stroud. Mm-hmm. But like if they wanted Bryce Young and Bryce Young was actually that quarterback better than C.J. Stroud, they would have screwed themselves out of that. Mm-hmm. But personally, I just don't see Sean Payton doing that. Like I can understand, evaluate, but you can still evaluate and play hard. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to win games because you could probably still lose a lot of them. But the fact that this team was way too damn soft. The offensive line.
Eddie, like the play calling though, like remember that play when that ended up being an interception on the red zone when they went to that wildcat formation.
Yeah,
that was really nice. All the trickery and stuff. Where are those plays? Like, why aren't we doing more of that? Going deep. He's purposely not doing that. I don't know why, but he's not doing that.
I think he did plays. I think he did that just to make it look like he was trying.
Yeah, it's weird.
But like, I don't understand that either. It's like,
I got so excited, Eddie, when I saw that play. Seriously, like I just jumped in. I was like, yes, finally, let's do something.
But at the same time, I think the reason why we're not seeing those plays as much, the more creative, explosive plays, he's trying to protect Bo Nix. That's the only thing I can think of. I think Sean Payton's ego is not going to let, his ego is taking a blow because Sean Payton's like, this is my guy. This is my starter. I, drafted him at 12. He's, he's a great quarterback. He's probably the most pro ready to go out of, college because he had so many starts. Sean Payton said all this during the offseason. And, I don't think Sean Payton's confidence is going to let him be like, Bo Nix is throwing fucking multiple interceptions. Sorry, excuse my language. He's throwing multiple interceptions. And I said all this. That's going to put a blow to Sean Payton's, image. Because Sean Payton's supposed to be the guru, the offensive guru that we all know. And if you're protecting Bo Nix, just stop. Let the kid go out there. He's already making mistakes with you protecting him.
Yeah.
If that's what Sean Payton's doing, if he's protecting Bo Nix, he's still making the mistakes. So go out there, run the offense that you want, Sean. Just do all the creative stuff. And Bo Nix makes the mistakes, he's going to make them. He's a rookie. That happens. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't freaking shield him. Let him go out there and make those mistakes so he can learn from them, and then he can be a better quarterback in the future for it. So I don't know.
Eddie, are you saying that Sean Payton basically listening to, because you know how like the media was like all against him, like you picked him too high, you didn't really want Bo Nix, but he kind of fell to you, you didn't have anybody else. Do you think he's thinking, I'm going to prove to everybody that this is my quarterback and he's the best quarterback, and I'm going to let you guys see what I can do with him? I don't know, Eddie, because I mean,
it could be, but it's like at the same time that if that's what he's doing, that plan's backfiring on him hard freaking core. Because Bo Nix, who I think 2 games so far, I think he had 3 interceptions today, or Graham, let me know in the thing. I'm not sure. I think he had like 3 interceptions today, or was it 2?
2.
And he had 2 last week. I know he had the one in the end zone. He had the one at the end of the game when he was trying to throw a Hail Mary. And I thought he had another one.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay because he's a rookie. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, that we sort of expected that to happen.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, if Sean Payton's trying to protect him, it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Let the kid go out there, throw the picks, take his lumps. Nix had 2. Okay, he had 2. So he had the one at the end of the game, and he had the one in the end zone. And he had 2 last week, too. So he's got 4 interceptions on the year, no passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. But you got to let him go out there and learn and take those lumps. Otherwise, he's not going to learn, and he's not going to get any better. If there's one thing we know about Bo Nix, is he's not going to make the same mistake twice. He's going to learn from his mistakes. And trying to protect him is no way to go about it. I'm sorry. Sean does not need to do that. Open the playbook, push the ball. Moving into our next topic, though, I wanted to ask you on your opinion. What did you think of the running game and the running backs today?
It's a little bit like I see a little improvement. It's still not quite there. I don't think it's really the running backs. I think it's the O line. That's my opinion, Eddie. But I did see a little bit of an improvement, comparing it to last week. McLaughlin, yes, he still has the issue. Like once he runs and stuff, avoiding tackles and stuff, the moment he's touched, he drops but I think it's better than what it was week one.
Um, McLaughlin, I think he's okay. He's definitely at best a second string running back. I don't think he's a first string. But Javonte Williams, I'm starting to get a little mad at him. Honestly, I understand the offensive line, but what was the reason we drafted him for? He was supposed to be that guy that breaks tackles. First contact, boom, he break it, he pick up another 3 or 4 yards. If you watch him, now this could go on to what I said earlier about the team being soft. He's not doing that anymore. He doesn't break tackles. He gets hit, instant contact, he's down. He's done. And it's so infuriating. It's like, come on, Javonte. We know what you can do. We've seen you do it. Show us some of that magic again and break those tackles and pick up an additional couple of yards. Don't go down the second you make contact. I understand, and it's one thing, if he gets hit in the backfield because the offensive line is now holding up. But there's sometimes where he'll have a hole, he'll hit it, and he'll get like 2 yards, before it closes in, he'll pick up like 2-3 yards or whatever, maybe 4 or 5. And then the second a freaking guy comes in there to, tackle him, he just like down. It's like, come on, dude. Just you can pick up an additional yard. I know you can. You've shown us you can do it. I've seen
maybe the injury is affecting him, Eddie. Maybe he's still kind of dealing with that, or he's not the same player.
It's just infuriating to me. I could deal with bad football, in certain areas, like in the run game, the pass game, the quarterback, maybe the offensive line, defense, whatever. If some of the team is actually playing well, you know what I mean? Like, if you're like, oh man, yeah, the run game's getting stopped up, but Bo Nix is out there firing freaking rockets and dimes and touchdowns, or vice versa. You're like, okay, the passing game ain't really working, but hey, man, at least Javonte and McLaughlin, man, they're picking up, 5-6 yards a carry, and they're scoring touchdowns. Like, there's nothing right now I've seen in these first 2 games. I want to get your opinion on this, Mohamed. That excite me. Nothing. I mean, I'm excited for Bo Nix because, I think eventually he will, settle down. He'll become the quarterback that we need him. But as of right now, outside of that, I don't see anything on this team. Nothing on this team for the future makes me excited. What say you?
Yeah, same, Eddie. Like, I honestly don't understand. When we were in the preseason, you see how they were playing. We saw that fire, like on them. Even the second and third string, they were all playing really well. Like they had that fire and the tackling. I don't know, zero energy. Like they like they're forced to be there or something. Especially with the offense. Like I don't know, Eddie. I don't know what it is, but you're right. You could see it with Sutton. He's not. Maybe he wants to go play with
Don't say
Russell Wilson. I don't know, man. Like I don't know, like Eddie. Like seriously, like what is going on with him?
You're the first one to make me laugh in the last couple hours, man.
But I mean, Eddie, like just think about going back to that O line. Just think if we had that player I just mentioned behind that O line, 7 or 8 sacks on the day. Come on.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to touch on was the O-line. This O-line, I mean, you could say Garrett Bowles possibly and Quinn Miners. I mean, Quinn Miners was the best. He's the best offensive line we got. He really is. He's the best O-line guy we got out of all of them. And it's not even close, in my opinion. But if you stop and think, like, I'm not saying Luke Wattenberg's a bust because he actually did pretty solid today. But the 2 big free agency acquisitions that Sean Payton got, McGlinchey and Powers, they were getting beat all game. And you paid those guys I think Mike McGlinchey was like an $85 million deal. Ben Powers was like a $50 million deal for like years. It's like these guys are not living up to the money. Like I can't see it. And Garrett Bowles, like I think after this year, I think they need to move on from him and they need to get a new left tackle, honestly. But with that said, what were your thoughts on the offensive line? I mean, we kind of heard them already, but go into more detail if you can, Mohamed.
Just very inconsistent, Eddie. At times I see that they're playing okay, just like with the right tackle with McGlinchey. He was playing okay the first half, and then he started getting beat towards the end. He was getting help with the tight end. Um, Garrett Bowles, like I said, I always feel like he's gonna go back to holding, and I've seen a couple of times where he was actually holding, but it didn't get called. I don't know if you saw that or not, Eddie,
Yeah,
but
I
he was
did.
holding constantly. Yeah, and I saw it. I was like, this is a holding call, but it didn't get called. He's getting up there in age. We definitely have to go to the draft, especially if we get like a high draft pick. We have to go back, and start working on this all line, draft and develop. That's probably how it's gonna have to happen. Same with the right tackle, I mean, very inconsistent, I would say. And honestly, I'm surprised. I honestly thought they'll be a lot better, that unit being together, except for the center. But I thought they'll be a lot better this season, but I'm not seeing it now. Is it the fact that we're going against some good defenses? That's a possibility too. And I was actually kind of hoping for Bonick's sake that we're playing against some, like maybe the Panthers or somebody like that, for him to get his confidence, and the Commanders, the Giants, somebody like that. But this is what it is, man. I mean, and next week is no difference. Again, some good defenses. So yeah, very inconsistent.
Honestly, I go last year going up against the defenses we went up. We went up against trying to remember. We went up against the Chiefs defense last year, because the Chiefs defense last year was the reason why they won any games and made the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. They were a top 5 defense. The Bills was a top 10 defense. The Browns, we went up against them. We absolutely just beat the crap out of them. They were a top 10 defense. And this unit outside of the center, Lloyd Cushenberry is the only one missing from this O line from last year. And it's the same players, same scheme. And yet, you go, I'm sorry, to me, like you could say Pittsburgh Steelers is probably up there in the top 5, right around where Kansas City's was last year. But like Seattle's defense it's probably in the top 10, I would say. But so was the Buffalo Bills, so was the Cleveland Browns, and we had good games against those defenses. This offensive line had good games against those defenses. So I don't understand why they're playing so poorly. I understand, like, Seattle's defense is probably top 10, like I said. Steelers defense is top 5. The Bucks defense, I wouldn't say it's top 10. I'd say it's probably like top 15. So the defense that we go against next week is probably gonna be a little bit easier. But the thing is the next 2 weeks after this, we're on the road. We're in Tampa Bay next week, and the week after that, we're in New York playing the Jets, which is also a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this, just on that information. We're going to get into the defense here in a second. With that information, do you think it's possible the Broncos start 0-4 this season?
Yeah. See, I didn't even flinch at it. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be, I'm like right now, any game we play, I don't have high hopes, man. I mean, just it is what it is, Eddie. It's like what it's the product that you're seeing on the field. There's nothing promising, nothing that tells you that good, we can build on this. Maybe Bonix will, start getting more chemistry, better chemistry with the wide receivers. That timing it's gonna eventually come. We might start seeing some glimpses. But as far as winning, I don't know, Eddie. I don't see it happening.
I feel like if we're going to get a win these first 4 weeks, it will be next week against Tampa, even though it's in Tampa Bay. Because, like I said, I think their defense is top 15. I don't think it's otherworldly. I don't think it's, like one of the best in the league. It's
Hmm.
top half in the league. I'll give you that. But, I feel like if we're going to have a game where we can actually maybe eke out a win, it would be next week, because I don't think we're going to beat the Jets,
Hmm.
honestly. But moving over to, hey, what's up, Michael? Good evening, man.
Hey,
Thanks for
man.
joining us tonight. But moving over to the other side of the ball, the defense. What was your initial thoughts on the defense?
It was okay, I guess. Like first half, I don't know what's going on with them. It's like the opposite of next week. I mean, of last week. They played better in the second half. Um, the injuries kind of got me all worried and stuff too. I thought Zach Allen was a beast. He was all over the field. I was very impressed. Burn Browning had to exit the game. I don't know, Eddie, like the corners weren't what I expected this game. I don't know what's going on with them. They weren't really playing well as well. I don't know if you saw the same thing or anything, but
The
I
only
could
thing I
also
saw in
say that
the corners was Patrick Surtain got a bogus PI call against him.
yeah, but I don't know, Eddie, like I think they're getting tired too. And as we I hope it doesn't happen, but if you keep losing, you're gonna start seeing some of the same thing with the defense. They be like, we're gonna stop trying. Seriously, like, what's the point? We keep playing hard and the offense is just not doing anything. 3 and out, then we have to be back in the field again. So they might be getting tired too. Um, but yeah, I mean, better on the second half than the first half.
Yeah, I agree. They played like garbage. Like to me, it just doesn't seem like VJ can play a whole game or coach a whole game of football. He can't do it. Like he's either going to be good in the first half or second half. And last week, what was the criticism of the defense? What were you doing in the second half? Like you couldn't stop the run. You were getting beat up in the second half. Make adjustments. Get better in the second half. This week it was like, okay, he heard that and he's like, first half we're just going to play like absolute garbage. Like we're not going to play well. Blah 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 blah. This week and then he goes into the second half and he's like, okay, let's do this. They're not going to do nothing, which they actually did do good in the second half. I give you that. But we'll go through all the positions on defense, but I want to get your take on this because I'm pretty sure you already know what my take is on this. What are your thoughts on Vance Joseph?
Um, like when you were saying that you don't think the Broncos probably going to be maybe they're going to be looking for a defensive coordinator next season. I thought maybe that's probably not going to be the case, but I'm kind of beginning to believe you, Eddie. Like I'm beginning to see that this not sort of like working out. I could actually see Sean Payton going next season and just, firing Vance Joseph and getting somebody else in because of the inconsistency, like not changing the plays and not making any adjustments and stuff. I don't know what it is with him, but yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think this team has a whole lot of talent on it. I really don't. But VJ, he can't play call, man. Like, there was one drive. I was telling Graham this before the live. There was one drive where he blitzed, and I'm pretty sure the Steelers threw it over the middle. Justin Fields threw it over the middle and picked up like 6 or 7 yards. And I'm like, okay, you just got beat over the middle. You left the guy wide open over the middle because I think you blitzed Singleton or Barton or somebody and left that side of the middle of the field wide open. And then I'm like, okay, this next play, just play coverage, keep your linebackers about 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, to where they can play that kind of zone. That way, if they do run, your linebackers can get up fast enough and maybe get the tackle on the running back. Instead, what's he do? He blitzes again, leaves the middle of the field wide open. They pick up a first down. I'm like, okay, I'm done with VJ. He needs to go. And it's not just because of what I just said. That's part of it. But it's what I said earlier. He can only coach one good half of football. He cannot do 2 halves. He can't do it. He couldn't do it years ago when he was the head coach. He couldn't do it for a lot of the games last year in the regular season. And he couldn't do it through the first 2 games of this year. I don't want him on the roster, or I don't want him on the team anymore. I want Vance Joseph gone. Like, I want someone like a kind of like a Mike McDonald, somebody that's going to have an exotic defense, throw a bunch of different stuff at you. Not like, because if you watch the Broncos defense, before, like, there's exotic defense like Mike McDonald's, you didn't know where the blitzer was coming from. Like, Bo Nix was trying to like, ID the blitzer, and he thought, oh, it's going to be the linebacker. Come to find out, it was the corner coming off the edge because they weren't moving up and, like going like this, like stuttering, like they're going to rush. Vance Joseph, you see it all the time with the linebackers, the corners. They're constantly, they come up to the line and they're like, they do that little, like twitch, like they're going to come at you, and they usually do. And it's like, Vance, come on, man. I mean, maybe that's not all on Vance. Maybe it's on the player for doing it a little too early. But it's like, dude, if you know your players are doing that, stop making them blitz, play coverage.
Yeah.
Because teams are going to beat you over the middle if you send a linebacker or a corner out of the slot on a blitz or a safety out of the slot on a blitz. But saying that, let's go through the defensive line first. What were your thoughts initially on the defensive line, including the injury to John Franklin Myers and Baron Browning?
That was terrible. Like when I saw them go down, especially John Franklin Myers, I was like, man, like I hope he's okay and stuff. He got a concussion. Baron Browning. I mean, I think it's about the same as it was last week, Eddie. Didn't think they played any like worse. Maybe the first half they did, but it's kind of disappointing because we talked about how we thought this season, like, oh, nobody is going to be able to run on us, right? But
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, is it because they're on the field the whole time? Are they getting tired? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, John Franklin Myers, I think that, that was a big one because he's really one of the big guys up front to help us stop the run. Baron Browning, I mean, I hope he gets better. I don't wish injury on no one ever. But, with the way he was playing, I was fine with letting Benito and Ellis get more snaps because honestly, I think they're better. Jonathan Cooper, to me, he's our best pass rusher at this time.
I agree.
Until either Benito or Ellis can prove otherwise, he's our best pass rusher. Let's see. No running game, and the wide receivers, tight ends did not help Bo Nix out. Sorry. And until they do it, it's going to get worse and worse before it gets better. Okay. I agree, Michael. Those drops by Greg Dulcich didn't help, but at the same time, like I said, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, they didn't really get more involved in the game plan until like towards the end of the game. That's when you really started seeing them out there in the field. And that's on Sean Payton. Get those young guys out there. They're probably hungry. They probably want to play. Portland Sutton, me and Mohamed already touched on this. He's not playing well. Like, he does not get open. He doesn't seem to care. And honestly, I'm perfectly fine with trading him and getting draft picks because that's probably more valuable at this point than Cortland Sutton not doing nothing. But thank you for your question, Mike. We really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you,
but going next, like I said, I felt bad for John Franklin Myers, but Baron Browning, I hope he gets better. But honestly, I'd be fine with Ellis or Benito being the starter opposite of Cooper. Moving to the middle linebackers. Singleton and Barton. What were your thoughts on those guys tonight?
I wasn't really impressed, Eddie. This is a part of the defense that was a concern for me, other than the second corner. But yeah, I mean, I'm not impressed with how they played, to be honest with you. Until we can get that real middle linebacker, I don't think I'm going to see anything better like from that group.
Yeah, I think they played okay today. I mean, like I said, they left the middle of the field wide open a lot of the times, but honestly, that was more on VJ sending the blitz, like either Barton. Like, it seemed like Barton or Singleton was blitzing like every other play. One of them was blitzing every other play. And leaving the middle of the field open. I think they're okay, but yeah, we're gonna have to get a young, hungry guy in here to play inside that. We need that off-ball linebacker that can protect that middle of that field. Now, Singleton and Barton, don't get me wrong, they're great tacklers, but you need to be more than a great tackler. You got to be able to cover the field. You got to be able to cover tight ends and slot receivers and everything like that if they come into your zone. Running backs. Like, it seems like every single time the running backs, if they do it, like a team does a swing pass on us, the linebackers are always late getting to the back. And it just, because I don't know if it's because they didn't read it right or if they're just too slow, but it drives me freaking bonkers to watch that kind of stuff. But moving to the next position, cornerback. I got a lot to say on this one, but what were your thoughts on
it? Like I said, I don't think they played as well as they did last week, Eddie. I mean, they're kind of getting beat a couple of times. I thought they did. And then, I thought he got hurt towards the end of the game, but I'm glad he's okay. When
McMillan?
Not McMillan.
Riley Moss.
Moss, yeah, Moss. Sorry. Yeah, I thought he got hurt on that play. At first, I thought the call was BS, but I saw that he was kind of like he was holding a little bit. Um, but yeah, like I don't think they played as well as they did last week. They were kind of getting beat a little bit. What you think?
I think they did pretty solid. Like there was actually, I'm sorry, there was two interceptions today that were both bogus. One was on Riley Moss, one was on Sertan. I'm like, they made amazing plays on the ball, and there was a couple of them where they were hand fighting and they called PIs. I'm like, okay, so I guess you can't play DB anymore. You can't play cornerback. You freaking hand fight now. It's considered a freaking pass interference. But I think they played pretty solid. We didn't really hear McMillan's name much today because I don't think they really threw to the slot receiver a lot. Uh, but I think they did pretty solid. I think Riley Moss, he's starting to do better. To me, he did better this week than he did last week. Uh, he was on his P's and Q's today, and I was happy with it. But, it feels like I'm not one to blame the rest, but man, it just seems like, favorite calls usually go to the other team. Like they don't go Denver's way usually. I believe today, me and Graham were talking about this. I believe the Broncos as a team, as a whole, had 109 yards of penalties.
Yeah,
109.
that's a concern for sure.
What the heck? Um, but once again, to me, that's on Sean Payton. The
It's
players
coaching,
got
yeah.
the players have to, play. But like we talked about, the Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain, they were actually playing good defense. That was not a PI. They were hand fighting. You really can't, like, even the announcer said on the Riley Moss one, like, what do you expect them to do? Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't that. It was on the PJ Lock one where they threw the ball up.
Yeah.
Riley Moss had a great play, and Locke was coming over to just make a play on the ball, and he ran
Mhm.
into the freaking receiver, and they called it. And the announcer's like, "Well, what do you expect him to do there?
Yeah.
You
Nothing you
know,
can do about it. Yeah.
coming over to make a play on the ball or trying to go after the ball, and he runs into the guy, and you're gonna flag him for that?
He's
Like,
not a
and
robot, so
yeah, the guy on the announcing thing was like, What's the coach gonna tell him to do? Just don't play football? Like, it was insane. But going to the next position, the safeties. What do you think about the safety game today?
I thought it's better than like I was pretty impressed with the safeties for the most part. I thought they did okay. It wasn't, anything concerning for me. What about you, Eddie?
Um, I think the safeties did good. Brandon Jones did really well. Like I said, PJ
Mhm.
Locke had a solid game. I think PJ Locke missed like one tackle over the
Mhm.
middle. They had him playing down towards like the slot / linebacker area, like that middle of the field right there. And he was there to make a tackle, but I think he just barely missed it. But overall, I was pretty satisfied with the safeties. But just the game plan, like I said, this game plan that VJ implements every week just drives me nuts. Um, I also want to ask you because this to me, this is the best part of this team, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on the special teams?
Yeah, it's like you said. That's about the only bright side. I mean, bright area on our team. You know, um, really good.
I love it. Like what's his name? Our kicker,
Dixon.
Riley Dixon.
Mhm.
Man, that guy is booming punts. He's getting them inside the 5 yard line. That's how we got the two safeties and almost a third last week. He did it again today. Now, granted, that was the help of the special team, but man, like if there's one thing I'm excited about whenever I'm watching a Broncos game, I'm like, man, I can't wait till the special teams gets out there, which is kind of sad because I actually have more excitement watching the special teams. But even with that said, like that's not all the special teams. Like even today, like Marvin Mims didn't even look like he was trying out there either in special teams. And like it kind of looked like he was running in quicksand. There was one play, one kick they kicked off to us. Marvin Mims got the ball and he's running. He kind of looked like he was running in quicksand, like he just didn't care. And honestly, I think he's just mad because he's like, I want more snaps on offense. I feel like I can be explosive on this offense, but they're just not giving me the opportunity. Um, that drives me nuts. They need to get Marvin Mims more involved with the offense. Same with Troy Franklin. Um, Overall, though, We went through every position, but overall, to me, the coaching is the biggest issue with this team. They have to. Sean Payton's got to change what he's doing, and if VJ keeps going down the same road, which I honestly think I wouldn't be surprised, Mohamed, if the defense keeps playing like this, one good half, one bad half, through the entire year. I would not be surprised to say that VJ would get canned after a bad loss. Like let's say we're gonna have another loss like we did with Miami last year,
I
but if
hope not.
we get beat bad, like the defense doesn't show any improvements, VJ doesn't show any improvements on that front. Am I crazy to say that VJ could be fired mid-season and they let one of their, defensive back coach, maybe linebacker coach, become the interim DC for the rest of the year?
I think Sean really wait, Eddie. My opinion. I think he'd really wait until the end of the season. But I wanted to ask you this, Eddie. Does it seem to you that Sean Payton is upset about us losing? It just seems to me like he's like, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm getting this feel. It's not like last season when he was all mad and he's just like, yeah. I mean, he doesn't seem like it's phasing him at all.
Well, I haven't seen the presser yet. I didn't
Mhm.
right after, right whenever the game ended, the clock hit zeros, I turned the TV off. I haven't seen the presser yet. I'll go
Mhm.
back and watch it and see. But I mean, you're not wrong on that, Mohammed, because the only time I really seen him get fired up was whenever we talked about that PJ Lock play where he ran to
Mhm.
the receiver, and the guy's like, "Well, what is he supposed to do?" When he got flagged for it, and he's walking off the
Mhm.
field. PJ Lock slams his helmet on the ground. He goes to the sideline. Peyton didn't really like scream at him, kind of like he did like Russell Wilson last year on the sideline. But he got in his face and like, don't do that, got in his face a little bit, but like, hey, you can't do
Mhm.
that, you
Yeah.
know. That was like the only thing I really saw. Like I said, I didn't see after the game or the post game presser. I'll have to watch that. But I don't but like I can talk about the Seattle game last week. I saw that
Mhm.
presser. Like, yeah, he just like, yeah, like once again, it seemed like he was trying to protect Bo Nix. You're not going to blame your rookie quarterback in his first game. Okay,
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, you critique some things like like, oh, his footwork wasn't that great, but the offensive line really didn't help, which is what Sean said. But he didn't really seem too upset
Yeah.
about
I
it.
mean, I didn't see the presser neither, Eddie. Like, but I'm just saying overall his demeanor, even while the game was going on, I'm like, we're not playing well. Like, we didn't score any points. And I'm looking at him and he's like, I don't care. He says it is what it is. Like, he's not, I don't know what, like, it's not, I don't see that fire on him. That's what I'm
So
saying. They're just
what?
evaluating, maybe, Eddie.
So, in your opinion, what do you think that means?
Uh, I think to him or to the organization, they're looking at this year as we'll do our best, but we're not thinking this year is going to be the year where we make the playoffs and maybe win a game or two. You know, they're thinking, okay, we just got our quarterback. He's a rookie. We'll see what we have, and then once we have that money next season, that's what I think.
Do you, do you think he's trying to aim to get like a really high draft pick to maybe trade or
Oh
get a player that he wants?
no, I don't think so. But I'm thinking they're just evaluating. They're not. I don't think they're looking at it as we were, and I think that's why we're all disappointed. You know.
Well, I got a question for you about that. Just in a hypothetical situation, like if the Broncos play as bad as we think, as we think they might be, like say they go like I hate to say it, say like they go freaking 4-12 or 4-13 or something like that, somewhere around there. That they go below the 5 wins that people said, and they get like a high draft pick, like a top 5 draft pick. If that happens, what would you want to do with that draft pick? Would you want to draft a player in the top 5 and be like, hey, get a cornerstone player on offense or defense, like a tackle, a pass rusher, or whatever, or a receiver? Or would you rather the Broncos trade that pick and get more draft capital?
That's a tough one, Eddie. I'll probably trade down and get more picks. But I honestly, when you started asking the question, I thought you're gonna ask me if we get like the first overall pick, God forbid, right? Are we gonna go for a quarterback? And I don't think
No, no.
Sean Payton would do that just with his ego. No way, you know. But I'll probably trade down and get multiple picks, and yeah, I'll probably do that. Even though I do think we need to draft a tackle. because Bowles is just gonna keep holding and doing all kind of crazy stuff.
No, I agree. Let's see. Bo Nix was upset about the interception question and said I threw it to another NFL team. Yeah, I had to go back and watch the presser myself, but you know, I mean, he should be upset. He should be upset at himself. He
Hmm.
should be upset with the fact that he could have helped the Broncos maybe keep the game tied there. The one he threw in the end zone. Like, hopefully he just builds on that. Don't beat yourself up too bad. Be upset about it. Learn from it. Understand it, and just get better at it. Just don't make that same mistake twice. But my thought is, I wouldn't trade it down. Like, depending on what they do, like you could probably go out and sign a good, if they just develop the young two guys they have at receiver, and keep Josh Reynolds around, you're fine there. I think receiver will be fine because Josh Reynolds and the young guys, I think, will be
Hmm.
better, and Cortland Sutton's gone. Uh, Pass rusher, I think they might go out and sign one. I think there's probably going to be a few on the market this year. So I would take that first round pick and I would draft the tackle. I mean, if there's a tackle, that's good enough to
Hmm.
go that high, I would take them. That way you have your long term solution at tackle. Because sometimes taking, a playmaker with a high overall pick is not as good as taking someone that plays in the trenches to protect your quarterback. Especially today, knowing what we know about the offensive line. Garrett Bowles
Hmm.
constantly holding, Mike McClinchy getting beat. Hopefully he plays better eventually. But overall, I'm just like a lot of people are going to blame everything. I personally blame Sean Payton more than anybody else because, like I said at the beginning of the stream, he's the one that put this team together. He's the one that brought in the players in free agency, drafted them. He's the play caller. He hired Vance Joseph. This is on him. The team being soft, that's on him. He's the head coach. He runs this team. So, with that said, what before we move on to our last topic of the night, what is your overall thoughts and who on this coaching staff and this team this year?
Eddie, I was just thinking. I think Sean Payton has a long leash as far as the owners are concerned, and I honestly beginning to believe that there was this conversation about what they're doing with the team where it was like, okay, we just drafted Bo Nix. Um, let's see what we have. Let's see what we have as far as the talent and stuff. So I don't think they have much expectations this season. I'm not saying they're tanking or anything, but I think they're just evaluating and this is how it's gonna go. VJ might go, he might not be with us next season. But yeah, I know you're looking forward to it, Eddie, but honestly, Eddie, like the whole demeanor from Sean Payton making me think that this is not they're not thinking about the playoffs. We are, or we were, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're tanking, but I think they're just looking around and thinking, hey, But I do think next season they're gonna have to go and pay some money and get a playmaker in offense. They're gonna have to do that. We need somebody like that to help Bonix go to the next level. And I think Bonix is going to continue to get better as we go. He's going to start, getting that timing right with the wide receivers.
Draft a new tackle in the next year's draft. And the two big splash plays I want to see from the Broncos this offseason, if you can get one, get a top edge rusher if you can get one, like or trade for one, and get a
Mhm.
playmaker.
Yeah,
Definitely. But
absolutely.
moving on to our last topic of the night, because we're almost at an hour. We're at 59 minutes. Um, should Tua retire after his concussion from Thursday Night Football? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Eddie. And I know I mentioned this. I got into it with people online when I said that he should retire. There's no question about it. I mean, this is the third time, and with Tua, it appears that he responds to it differently as far as the concussion. We've seen him um like the way he like reacts to it is terrible. Like I fear for him for the future. I mean, there's always life after football. I mean, I know we all love this game and we enjoy it and stuff, but these players would have to have their own, like they have to live after, after football is over. So I do think he should retire. Just take your money, retire. Your family needs you. It's not worth it, Eddie. It's not
Yeah.
worth it.
No, I agree. That hit that he took Friday night, or I'm sorry, Thursday night. you've seen his arm, like just like the last time he got one. I think this is like his third concussion in 3 years. The last time he got one, you saw his fingers like this
Yeah.
on the field. This time, the announcers during the game, I was watching it Thursday night, said, yeah, his arms went in, what do they call it? Fencing mode or whatever, where, he got hit and his arm was like wheeling around like this. He needs to retire. And I agree with you. People that say he should still play in the league, like that is just outrageous to me.
Yeah.
Like this guy gets one more concussion that could really screw up his life. Like it could, mess him up permanently, like brain damage permanently. He's already got his money. I'm pretty sure if he were to retire tomorrow, he would get like 167 million from the Dolphins. Like that's not at once; it'd be over the stretch of a couple of seasons. But if that's what the announcers said the other night, I believe. But I think he should retire. Like I understand you probably love the game of football, but nothing is like if you are not healthy enough to play and it's gonna damage you even farther, like it's just time to hang him up. Like I like to. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think it's worth risking his health,
Well,
honestly.
he could still
At
be an
all.
analyst, Eddie, like with Fox or ESPN or whatever.
Oh
He
yeah,
can go and do
Heck,
that. I mean, come on.
he could still be with the Dolphins and just be like maybe like a quarterback coach or side coach or
Yeah,
something. Or
exactly.
like you said, be an analysis. Like there's so many things he could do to stick around the game of football if he wants to be around it. So, but that's our show for tonight, guys. We got through a lot of stuff. We'd like to know your guys' thoughts on tonight's game. And who do you think is most to blame for the loss tonight and the loss last week? But Mohamed, we got through a lot of stuff tonight, man. Really good stuff. Had fun. Still a little angry. Like I'm really like I'm fuming in my mind right now. But you know, what you said earlier, I'm kind of hoping is maybe the reason. I don't think Sean Payton would purposely do that, but honestly, I rather believe that than they just suck this bad. And Sean Payton doesn't know how to coach. Like that to me would be far worse than Sean Payton saying, well, this is just an evaluation here. We don't really want to play tough. We don't want to win, we don't care about making the playoffs, whatever. I'd rather that be the case than Sean Payton just not knowing how to coach and this team just being complete trash. So but that's it for us tonight, guys. We'll be back next Sunday at the same time after the Bucks game. Please join us then. Please like, comment, subscribe on this video. And Mohammed, have a good night, man.
All right.